Hello, guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is your boy Rogers, a multiple scholarship winner and OT. Today I'm going to be giving a live stream lecture on how you can, prepare for a job, no, for a scholarship interview or an internship interview. If you've made it up to the internship interview level, congratulations, well done. It's not everybody that can make it to that level. So I'm gonna share my screen with you all so that we can, start as soon as possible. Yeah, let me share my screen with you all. Yeah, let's start. Okay. Yeah. So you're all welcome to this live interview of mine, live stream of mine. So the title of the live stream is all about how you can prepare for, you know, um you can prepare for scholarship or internship interview at any given period of time. And the good thing is that I'm going to say congratulations to each and every one of you if you have been able to make it up to you've been scheduled for a job interview. Sorry for you keep hearing me say job interview because it's all of them are probably all the same tips. So if you've been called upon, or you've been invited for the interview level, you've made it to the interview level, congratulations. That means it's already 80%. You're already 80% of being awarded a scholarship, because it's not everybody that can make it to the interview level. So if you reach that level, do not panic. So first thing, for I'm gonna tell you what are common interview questions. What are common interview questions? And I'm also going to be telling you how you can answer some of them. What are the tips you can use to answer some of these common interview questions? And then what you should never do in an interview. What you should do and what you should never do. That is what you should not do. Then end up, I'm gonna request you to make sure you subscribe. So the first thing is, first, one common interview question, be it for a scholarship, be it for scholarship interview, be it for an internship interview, and sometimes job interviews, they will usually ask you to introduce yourself or to tell more about yourself. This is one very important question that is usually being asked from every candidate. And mind you, when you reach the interview level, they are looking forward to, it's like it's a grading system. For example, let's say your interview is on 10 points. Each point you earn a mark or you lose it. So when they ask you to introduce yourself, what can you tell in order to outstand that interview? Secondly, the question they can ask you is, why should we award you this scholarship? Like, out of 1,000 people who are applying, why should you be selected? Or why should they award you this scholarship? It's not, you wouldn't say it's because I'm very smart, or I'm very beautiful, I'm tall, I'm handsome. No. At this point, you need to give an answer that will make you all smart. And then, why do you deserve the scholarship? It's almost the same kind of question. Another way, they can ask you, why have you chosen this scholarship? Or how do you know about the scholarship? It's very important too. Or what are your strengths and weaknesses? So when they ask you to introduce yourself or tell more about yourself, this is not the point at which you start telling the scholarship board that you're coming from probably an impoverished country. You're very impoverished. You need money, you know, and if you don't have money, you cannot study. No, mind you, A lot of people are coming from developing countries. Also, maybe the scholarship is not interested in people who are coming from underdeveloped countries, or maybe the scholarship is not interested in people who are very rich. If you have money, then you don't need a scholarship. So, what are the things you have to do? First, you have to focus on describing your personality. For example, if you are an introvert, it's very important you mention you are an introvert, because it's not very hard for the interviewer to determine if you're an introvert or not, you know. And then if you're an outgoing person, do not fail to mention you're an outgoing person, because you might think that the interview will say, oh, we want people who can study hard. No, some interviews want a mixture of people, and you might just be that candidate. And then you should focus on your ambitions. What are your future ambitions? And what is your hobby? For example, if you say introduce yourself, like the Korean government scholarship, they'll ask you, can you introduce yourself? In my own case, I'll say, well, my name is Rogers. I'm from Cameroon, and I love to go out and go sightseeing, go hiking, taking pictures of plants and animals, and I'm applying to study environmental science. And my hobby, like I said, my hobby is taking pictures, going hiking, and all of that. Now we are in a technology world. There are some cases whereby they'll request you for even your social media account. If you say one of your hobby is hiking and taking pictures of nature, and they go on your Instagram account, all your pictures are about partying, smoking, dancing. They'll be like, no, you lied about this. Or they go on your Instagram account and they see your pictures of you took a hike to probably Mount Cameroon, Mount Everest. They'll be like, wow, this is the kind of candidate we're looking forward to. And also, for example, South Korea is a society whereby most of the time they have what we call weshik. Weshik is like an after party, like after work party where people from usually hang out with your bosses and get to drink and all of that. So if you love to if you drink sometimes, by drinking I mean if you consume alcohol, is you're not totally looked upon as a totally bad person, but in some cultures that is not welcome. For example, if you're applying for the Turkish scholarship, which is uh, a Muslim dominant culture, and you say you love drinking, you might not be awarded this scholarship. But in Korea, that could be a plus for you. But one very important thing is, do not lie. Just be yourself. Just be relaxed. Just feel comfortable, because when you're telling the truth, sometimes you're as relaxed as much as possible. And do not, I mind you, do not go with pre-prepared answers, because if you go with pre-prepared answers, you might find yourself trying to recite answers, and a little bit of switch towards from what you've been asked about. You find yourself panicking. The most important thing during, be it scholarship interview, be it an internship interview, or a job interview, is that you should not panic. You know. And the second question is they'll ask you is, why should we award you this scholarship, or why do you deserve this scholarship? This is one second very important question, which usually sometimes they will ask you. They're gonna ask you, why do you think you deserve this scholarship? Why do you think you should be awarded this scholarship? This is one question which most of the time they're gonna ask you about. They're gonna ask you about. Yeah, you should be yourself. You should be yourself as much as possible. Just be yourself. Do not yeah, I thought I was sharing my screen. Okay. Yeah, so for yeah, I thought I was sharing my screen. Okay, this is very important. Yeah, now I find it. Thank you very much. So for the console, I'm gonna restart again. Yeah, so the first thing first is that first I'm going to talk about, like I said, common interview questions, how to answer them, what you should never do in an interview, what you should do. Okay. Then The second part is the common interview questions. The common interview questions, which are I did point out here, introducing yourself. So now I am on the part where you have to describe your personality. Yeah, you have to describe your personality. So, like I was saying, you have to focus on your job ambition. What is your future job ambition, right? What is your future job ambition? Yeah, you have to point out on that part. What is your future job ambition? What is your hobby? What is your hobby? What are the kind of things you like doing? Like, for example, my area of specialization is climate change, environmental studies, and soils, right? So if I'm going in now for, let's say, a PhD positions where I'm going to study, let's say, environmental science. You keep hearing me talk about science, or maybe you're applying to study economics, right? So you say your future job ambition is to be an environmental economist, right? So your hobby should somehow tie to your environmental economy thing. And do not lie, because when you lie you can easily be dictated or can easily be told. So the second question is, why should we award you this scholarship? Why, or why do you deserve this scholarship? First thing, the answer tip is that link your future career goal to what you want to study. Okay, link it. For example, if I want to be a chemist in the future, I'll say my reason for applying to study chemistry, let's say in the university, can one national university, or my reason for applying to study chemistry in Hawassa University in Ethiopia, or Harvard University, or University of Boston, will be that, you know I'm applying to study chemistry because currently the world is going through coronavirus, and there is a need to identify, the active ingredient that can be used in manufacturing, let's say, vaccines and all of that. And you should be sure that that scholarship board to is looking forward for people who have that skill, or it's the mission, because usually the scholarship describes on its website its mission, its vision, what they want to achieve at the end of the goal of that scholarship, because each of them describe that very well in their website. So it's very, very important for you to to strike on that factor. Or, for example, I study environmental science. One of my goals is that in the future I want to be an environmental consultant. I want to go back to my country, Cameroon, or I want to go back to, probably I want to go to South Africa, to sort out the environmental pollution problems. Because, for example, South Africa is going through a lot of drought problems. So, one of my hobby too is actually going to collect water samples, taking them to the lab. And if you go to my social media account, you're going to see that. So, in my social media accounts, I personally, I for one, I love sharing stuff like that because I can use them for job interviews. Mind you, these days people don't joke. Yes, they will clearly go out and check your social media account. That's what one of the things they call background check. So it's very, very important you put that in mind. Okay, the second thing which they're going to look at is, why have you chosen this scholarship, or do you know about this scholarship? Usually they want people whom they are familiar with. They want to work with people who they don't want scholarship boards or internship, or, like, for example, the UN, for example, would prefer to hire someone who has already been in the system before. If you check in one of my videos, which I made with a UN, someone who's been working with the UN for a very long time. She's Korean, grew up in New York City, and she was inspired by growing up in New York. You understand? And in her interview, she stated it clearly, straight out. The UN wants people whom they are familiar with, right? They don't want someone that will come into the system and tomorrow they say no, they are no longer interested. Because in a lot of scholarships, it's usually stipulated that if you come in and you're living within the following month, you have to reimburse everything you've been paid on, be it your flight money, be it your allowances. So they don't want any of that, you know. So you should be capable of logically linking the process you use to choose a university. For example, in my case, in the Korean government scholarship, I didn't mention that back then. At the time, I had a friend who was studying in my same university, so he told me about the advantages of studying in South Korea, the research benefits, how I can benefit from studying in in South Korea, the research network, and it already made me give them the impression that I have someone who's already drilled me of the cultural shock I can go through. Another one could be that my supervisor during my master program was a South Korean who already drilled me on how to work with Koreans. And that is also one factor which helped me during my job interview, because my boss, he was really interested to know if I can handle working with Koreans. Koreans have a special work ethic, which if you don't follow, trust me, you might not cope in a job atmosphere. And that will, sometimes your boss doesn't even have time for that. And he doesn't want to take that chance, be it for scholarship work. Because when the thing is, when you recruit a candidate, and the candidate backs out at one point in time, you lose time, you lose resources, and you lose money. And at the end of the day, maybe the scholarship board might not have that funding anymore again. Hello, Dr. Sheila. Hello, my MJ. Thank you for linking in. Yeah. So at the end of the day, the scholarship board might lose that sponsorship, so they don't want to take those. They don't want to take that. It's very important. And for example, another way again is that you could also logically link up that, because you've seen that, for example, I chose Korea because when I'm done studying in Korea, I want to work with Korean consulates back home in my country. So they'll be excited for that. You have to logically link it. The most important thing, keep listening to me, do not lie. Or you can say, I once attended a conference in, let's say, in Seoul National University, and then when I attended the conference there, I found out the way Koreans presented and I fell in love with the country. Or I love the Korean culture. Or for example, a professor told me about it. Or a reason that professor someone which they're familiar with, you know. Another thing is, what are your strengths and weaknesses? This is one question. This is one question which you know, has been asked in a lot of job interviews. It's been asked in a lot of scholarship interviews, in a lot of internship interviews. What is your strength and your weaknesses? Trust me, this question has made a lot of people to lose scholarships to gain it. You know, for example, when they say mention your strengths, do not lie again here. Don't say, oh, I can work for 24 hours non-stop. No, your boss will know you're lying. They'll know you're lying. Just mention strengths that can link to why you're applying. For example, one of my strengths is that I love reading review papers. I love reading scientific papers. It makes me excited. I want to get to know what is new. When I'm reading, papers, for example, papers on climate change, I am very excited to see what the scientist is bringing forward. I'm excited to see what is the new thing he's bringing forward there. That is one of my strengths. I also love to watch National Geographic channel. That's like one of my hobbies. That's one of my strength. And then one of my strength is that I can, when I sit on a laptop to work, I work to the point that I forget eating or taking lunch. So that's one of my strengths. And one of my weakness is that um I love to do things very fast, but doing things very fast sometimes is not that too important if you cannot do them correctly. So one of my weaknesses is that I love to do them very fast, do it fast, but one of my weaknesses is I am not too careful. And your weakness, you see here, I just mentioned my weakness. It should be a weakness that can be rectified during 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 the process of your study. That should be a weakness which can be identified. Do not say your weakness is that my weakness is that I'm addicted to smoking, or my weakness is that I'm addicted to clubbing, or my weakness is that I'm addicted not doing assignments. Hell no. Nobody will want to nobody would want to give a scholarship to someone who doesn't want to do assignments. Nobody wants to give a scholarship to someone who doesn't like doing his assignments on his own. No one want to do a scholarship on someone who cannot push himself to work harder. So it's very important you mention your weaknesses, and it should be linked to the scholarship interest. Like there are so many scholarships in Africa. There are scholarships that target people who are just out to study medicine, scholarships which target people who are just out to study environmental science. There are scholarships, for example, let's say scholarships organized by the European Union, which are known as the Erasmus Mundus scholarships, which target mostly people who are coming from Europe. Or there are scholarships that target people who come just from Africa. People who, for example, there are scholarships that target people who just study geology, you know. So when you're linking your strength or your weaknesses, it should be linked to one of these. Secondly, now I'm done. Those are just few of some of the questions or some of the things or some of the popular questions you're going to get during our you're gonna get. Sorry guys, let me send my daughter away. Take mama. Take good girl. Yeah. Yeah. So those are some of the questions which you find in 90% of scholarships. Like I said, I'm a multi scholarship ROT. I've had a lot of scholarships, and trust me, in all of them, these questions have come, right? There are other unique questions that will come up, like they want to find out if you can speak English, if you can some scholarships which they require maybe to test your level, your Chinese um coefficient level. If you can say now, let's say your Korean coefficient level. Don't go and say you can speak Korean when you cannot, because it's not pretty hard for you to find out if you can speak Korean or not, right? So now these are the things you should never do or do during a scholarship. Do not panic. Do not panic. Yes, they'll want to find out how confident you are, right? And one more thing, one of my one skill to or one hobby is that I love to give public presentations. It's a skill I built during my while I was in secondary high school, St. Louis College, Ashimkom, that's in Cameroon. So I used to be a very shy person, right? I used to be very shy, and because of that shyness, my friends will deliberately put me to be the class captain. Because no, come, sorry guys, they'll deliberately put me to be the class captain because they just want to see how I can handle being shy. So some of those things that helped me to learn how not to panic in public when I'm giving a presentation, or all of that. Like at that young age, you're being called out to talk to over 600 people, some 100 people. So you learn not to panic. And one of the basic rule to which you can learn not to panic is that when you sorry guys, let me send this girl a good go away, go. So she's let me send my daughter again. Okay, sorry guys. So that is my daughter MJ. She is struggling to join live, but she can for now. So one of the way you can let me give you a tip on how you cannot panic when you are presenting to the interviewer, or whosoever is giving you the interview. Look at his forehead. Put your eyes at the forehead. It makes him feel you're having eye contact, but you are not having eye contact with him. So that is one way you can use, That is one way you can use to distract your attention from the person who is interviewing you. Another thing is that do not lie. Don't say you have a skill when you don't have it, because some of those skills it's not pretty hard for for them to find out. For example, don't say I have an English language proficiency skill when you cannot construct good sentence. I have Japanese skill because you're applying for Japanese scholarship. They're gonna find you. They're gonna ask you, how can you say good morning in Japanese? One lie, trust me, guys. One lie during your one lie in your interview will make it will make you lose your scholarship. Just one lie. And some of these lies are not usually pretty hard to to find out. Another one is that you know another thing is that you should never say never. Don't say I don't know. If they ask you a question, never you say I don't know, because when you say I don't know, it shows them that during a hard time you're gonna back out. You're gonna say, oh, I can't do this. I scholarships, internships or jobs, they want people who can survive during a very hard or heated discussion time. So that is one thing to which they're looking forward to. They want to find out if you can do. And for example, if they ask you a very difficult, because some scholarships they might ask you very hard questions. Very hard questions. If they ask you, for example, one question which you don't know, you can always give examples. Just try, but do not be scared to give the wrong answer. No answer is never wrong. For example, I'm going to give the case of Einstein. Einstein said the moment you stop questioning and stop asking questions, that's the moment when we stop growing. You know, so if you don't know, ask questions, be clarified, give an example. What you might say, you never know. That could be the most brilliant answer ever. And I, for one, I never say I don't know. So, second one is don't pay attention to what other people are doing during the interview process. Another person might just crack a laugh. Like you might be speaking, another person just laughs. He laughs. So his laughing doesn't mean should not distract you or shouldn't make you feel you're being mocked at or whatever. Like usually most during some interviews, you might have three people interviewing you. What person A and C are doing should not be of any interest to you. It should be what the person talking to you is doing at that time. So thank you for those are the questions which you know, I had to present. First, I gave you the common interview questions, how you can answer them, what you should never do. Like, for example, I talked about how to introduce yourself, tell them about yourself, and also when you give the introduction, for example, if I'm to like for my master, when I'm applying for a PhD scholarship, I'm gonna say, oh, my name is Rajesh. I'm a multiple scholarship winner from Cameroon, first class student. I love, you know, I'm applying to study environmental science at the University of Boston. Um, I'll During my free time, I love going hiking and taking pictures of nature. And in my future, I would love to be an environmental consultant. That is the thing. So I give you three things you should focus on. You focus on your career goal, focus on about yourself and your hobby when you're introducing yourself. Those are the things I talked about. And there are more tips there. Then you talk about how I talked about how you can why you should be awarded a scholarship, and you have to link your future career goal to why you're applying for it, and why you should be chosen for the scholarship. You have to logically link the process used to choose a university. What are your strengths and your weaknesses? You should mention strengths that are useful for the scholarship you're applying for. Do not mention strengths that are not worth it. For example, if you're applying to study environmental science, you don't need your strength to be someone who is good at at the marathon. Or no, link your strengths to that, and do not mention weaknesses which are illegal, because when you mention your weakness is something which is illegal, you're totally out of the scholarship. And things you should never do is do not panic, do not lie, and do not ever say you do not know. Don't ever say you don't know, because the scholarship is not looking forward to that. So yes, so those were the tips which I shared, which are, yes, Dr. Sheila, those are the tips. So I need a lot of people to, get to know these tips, because the interview level is when you already have 80% of being awarded a scholarship, or the internship. Because, for example, in the Korean government scholarship, usually 10 people can make it for the interview, and at the end of the day, they pick two candidates. So within those 10 people, what are the things you should do, and what are the things you shouldn't do? So some of these things, make you to lose it. So if you've loved these tips, if you've loved this answer, make sure you hit on the subscription button and subscribe and stay. I'll be sharing more live streams, more live lectures on how you can approach some of these things, and how you can write your CV, how you can write your motivation letter, what are the things you can do, how to build up your career, and even one more thing too, myself and my colleague of mine, Dr. Sheila, we're building up, or she is building up with me as co-founder, or one of the people building up a page on Facebook about scholarships strictly in Korea. That is one thing to which very important. So you can check out on Dr. Sheila in Korea a Facebook page. And also you can also look out at Oma MJ2 sharing awesome tips on Korea life in Korea. And why not stay and be connected? And if you love this, like I said, peace out and look forward to my future. Tomorrow I'm gonna have a live stream on how to get English jobs in Korea, where I'll be having a live stream with a friend of mine who has 8 years English teaching experience. She's South African, Flower, so she'll be sharing her experience. So stay connected, and this has been your boy Rogers. Peace out.